I need this. I need to have my life substituted for, because the wages of sin is death. That's one part of it. But there's also the clinging to Jesus as my life preserver.
Sure.
He's what my life is all about. Living his way, doing things his way, bringing glory to him, communicating with him. That's what faith is. It's a total clinging to.
You know, I find it interesting. I wasn't planning on really going here with this, but as you're giving the analogy of life preservers, you know, you hear the analogy of like a life raft, like you said, where somebody's drowning and somebody throws it out and says, have faith in this, trust this, you know what I mean? It's a totally different perspective, right? Or somebody's jumping out of an airplane and they says, don't worry, and the person next to him says, don't worry, have faith in this parachute, right? Like it is like a absolute, like powerful cling to, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like we sometimes might lose that importance or the urgency to cling to, you know, and when we're just talking about having faith in God, you know, it feels like it comes across really subtle sometimes, but we really do have to cling to God, right?
Well, and that's what we're talking about, is the difference between a religious concept where I go to a church or I wear a cross around my neck or you know, maybe I read a Bible or I say the Lord's Prayer every night before I go to bed. You know, religious rituals. There's a big difference between that and being so totally devoted that the way it's described in the Bible, in Galatians chapter 2, verse 20, it says, the life that I live by faith in the Lord Jesus Christ who died for me. And in other words, my whole life becomes this. I've had people say that, you know, you need to have a separation between your personal religious life and your business life, or being a teacher, or whatever it is that you're doing. Well, I've been a teacher, I've been a tree trimmer, I've been all those things. But because the life I live by faith, well, that's going to color and fuel and be the center of everything I do. Whether it's a teacher or a tree trimmer or a pastor or a father or a friend, you know, my life is going to be focused that way.
Yeah, and you know, we can't life kind of does have its way of compartmentalizing different areas of life, but like you're saying, if you're really changed by God, you're going to carry that faith with you everywhere you go. You know, you're going to be a different person. I use the analogy all the time when I'm teaching with this is I never realized when I was young, I called myself a spiritual chameleon.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you just kind of you blend in wherever you're at, you know, in your atmosphere. And then all of a sudden you mature in your faith and you realize, you know what? I know who I am in God. And then now you have this confidence of your relationship with the Lord, and it just carries, I mean, like you said, it carries over to work, it carries over to your friendships. I mean, and despite being ridiculed for it, right?
Right. And faith is not the absence of failure. We got to keep that in mind too, because some people they jump on that and they think, oh, if your faith is real, you know, James chapter 2, you're going to have the works that go along with it. And some people can become what we call legalistic, where they think that real faith means I live absolutely perfect. But I have learned that faith is not the absence of failure. What faith is where, despite the failure, you continue, you press on.
Absolutely.
1 John chapter 1, verses 8 and 9 are crucial to understanding this. Because verse 8 tells us that if we say that we're without sin, if we pretend, okay, oh, I'm a Christian, I've got faith, therefore I don't sin anymore. Okay, well then you're calling God a liar, because God is saying, no, you're going to be wrestling with this until I take you out of this life.
Absolutely.
But then we have verse 9, says, but if we own up to it, we confess it, we go, no, man, I really blew it here, I shouldn't have thought about that, I shouldn't have said this, or if we confess that to God, well then he is just and he's able to forgive us from that sin and to cleanse us from all kinds of unrighteous, all kind of badness that might be in our life.
And you know, it's funny, from a religious, earthly perspective, I think it's easy to think of, like you said earlier, as kind of we always look at the scale as good or bad, right? Did we do good or did we do bad? To kind of pull it over to an analogy, what I think really pleases God is, like, I'll use the analogy of being a parent.